Honesty, passion, experience. It's Timberwolves Explosion, hosted on the sportstuff.com. And now, your host, Paladino Joey. Hello again, Timberwolves fans. Are you ready for the explosion of Timberwolves basketball? I'm your host, Paladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Timberwolves Explosion is available on the sportstuff.com, iTunes, Stitcher, and Double Twist. Nice to be on board once again today, and want to wish a happy Thanksgiving to everybody. The very first Thanksgiving edition of Timberwolves Explosion in terms of, I'm actually recording on Thanksgiving. Seemed like by tradition it's been Brave the Wild, but the way the schedules add up with the games and such, I think it's better to do this one today than Brave the Wild. So lawn cleanups are done. Awesome. So could probably get this thing being more regular recording. And yes, the schedules with the games will add up better to do it today. So we're going to review 5 games. That's the thing. So again, I'm going to be gentle. I'm not going to overdo it and talk about 5 games for 2 hours. So it's more of kind of talking about the play of the team, the direction, this and that, the momentum, kind of remember last episode, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. And then I made predictions, and, well, it was 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. I mean, it doesn't get better than that. I was 5-0 in my predictions, and, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really get much closer than that. The Orlando game, the Wolves looked a lot better than I expected for a while, and then Orlando kind of came back, made the score look a little better than it was. But great offensive performance. Very predictable. That's the name of this episode. It was very predictable because, the Wolves would win a couple of games against the Texas teams, and I that back-to-back, I just reeked of a loss. Detroit and Charlotte, that's not a good matchup in the past, and Charlotte, yes, we played well against them in the Target Center, but on the road, forget about it, and that was embarrassing. I mean, embarrassing. Both of the big men, Dwight Howard and Frank Kaminsky. Ugh, give me a break. That was BS. We'll preview 4 games, Miami, Phoenix, Washington, and Nolens, and as we lead into next week. So that's how that story will be. So it's just perfect. It's a perfect fit to record today rather than Friday or something. So it is what it is. Let's get rolling. Wolves win 98-86 over a depleted Spurs team. Still no Tony Parker, no Kawhi Leonard. Who? Who the heck is Kawhi Leonard? Happy birthday, Carl Anthony Towns. His best game of the week by far. Well, not by far, but by a good margin. He was very solid. 22 years of age, so he's out of the 21 stage and moving forward. On the Spurs, nobody played particularly well, I would have to say. Patty Mills, he shot okay. Again, you don't really see a flow of an offense. He's a spark plug. He's not a floor general, but whatever. That's how it goes. That's their loss at the moment, not ours. Nobody really stood out that great. LaMarcus Aldridge had some moments, but overall missed a lot of shots. Pau Gasol, they probably should have got him the ball more often. That might have been smart, but I'm glad they didn't. Danny Green made half of his shots. Another guy they probably should have got the ball more rather than just feeding LaMarcus Aldridge time and time again against Towns, who was playing well. Towns' defense had not been good, but it was good in this game. In future games, not so much. 26-16 for Karl Anthony Towns, added 2 blocks from the weak side. Jimmy Butler, wow, this was his weakest game by a mile because he had a pretty good week. He played solid defense and he took away some passes and all that. 3 steals for Jimmy Butler, but only 6 points. He made 2 field goals out of 13. Yikes. Jeff Teague, another solid night. You're seeing kind of back and forth performances out of Jeff Teague throughout the week and throughout the season, I'd have to say. I mean, when this guy is good, he really, his release, his smoothness when he's dribbling and moving the ball around, he kind of reminds me of Chauncey Billups, actually. He kind of does. He has that same kind of poise and coolness of Chauncey Billups a little bit. Say whatever you want. Chauncey Billups isn't in the Hall of Fame yet, so I don't know. And some people say he should, some people say he shouldn't. So don't get too mad at me for comparing Jeff Teague to Chauncey Billups. I love Chauncey Billups. And Chauncey, it took time for him to get going. We all know that. Teague is 28, so he's right in his prime right now, and he looks really good out there. When he's on, he's good. When he's off, he's just off, I guess. This was a night he was pretty solid. Made literally half of his shots, 16 and 6 along the way. Some feeds to Karl Anthony Towns. He's always, when he does set up somebody, it's always a really pretty play. Cutting to the basket, dunks, alley-oops, and, of course, open threes. and passes that drive players open, and that's what we appreciate so very much. Nemanja Bjelica has been a godsend this year for the most part. He's had some icky games, but he continues to make literally half his threes or slightly more than half. He's played some solid defense, even had a block that led to a dunk on the other side. Just really like what Nemanja has become. He's really put in the work in the offseason. This was a guy a lot of us thought was barely worthy to even put on a uniform, much less play minutes in the NBA. And wow, he's really blossomed greatly. Very impressed with Nemanja Bjelica. A solid little win. The Spurs kind of caught up after a extremely strong second quarter by the Wolves, kind of putting a big lead. Things got a bit quieter. The Spurs only managed 86 points, though, at the end of the day. They're just not good right now without two of their weapons. Of course, Tony Parker's way past his prime, but Kawhi is very much in his prime. A game that looked kind of scary for a while. Friday the 17th of November. A game which the final score does not reflect of what a scary, messy game this was. Final score, 111-87 Wolves. I mean, bro, we pounded Dallas. Yeah, in the third and fourth quarter. That's nice, and I'm glad. The first half, it got kind of scary. Like the second half, Dallas was up by like 11, 13. It's like, what's going on here? Come on, guys. What are you doing? Dallas was doing what they wanted to do. The Wolves weren't making shots. And then the second half, it was just boom. The Wolves just exploded. So that was fun. Teague setting up players along the way. Another double-digit assist game. So an overall double-double for Jeffrey Teague. He made more than half of his shots, including 3 of 6 from downtown. Butler made 3 of 5 from downtown. Much better performance from him. I thought Butler was the best overall player on the floor in this game, taking away passing lanes like he does, and of course shutting down opponents and hitting shots. Again, the calm coolness of Butler. And when Butler and Teague play well, that is one of the best backcourts in the league. I mean, and just the calm coolness of both of them is a joy to watch. Towns didn't have the big numbers because he just, he didn't get the ball as much in this game, and that's okay. Didn't attempt as many shots in the game, but he still likes to park himself out there at the three-point line, and you noticed it the whole week. And it's just, is Karl a shooting guard or a center? I mean, I don't know. It seems like everybody wants to be something else. And, of course, this does come back on the coach, too, because if Tom Thibodeau didn't want Karl Anthony Towns on the three-point line, standing, literally parking out there and hoping for the ball, he would have said, he would do something about it. So, obviously, this is part of the game plan. And what the hell is this? What the hell is this? I don't know. I mean, it's okay to have a stretch 3 or, to be a stretch 4, stretch 5, whatever you are, but not constantly. And I don't know. It just kind of leaves a sour taste in my mouth some nights. 1 of 4 from beyond the arc from Karl. And again, 4 3-pointers. I mean, it's attempted. I don't know. I don't hate it, but I don't like it either. Karl's at his best when he's down low making moves. He can shoot some threes on occasion, and I'm not against it, particularly in just moments in the game. Like, okay, we're coming up the court, maybe that little stop and pop 3, catch and shoot in a, like a run and gun type of play, a run and gun situation, like it's 3-on-2 or 3-on-1 type of thing. Karl's wide open from 3, and it's like a momentum shot. You're trying to put yourself ahead or put yourself back in the game, whatever the situation is. That's where I like Karl shooting threes, not just kind of casually in a half-court game. I mean, no, it needs to be more of a full-court game. That type of situation, again, where it's a momentum shot. That's what he's good at. Heck, that's what a lot of us are good at when maybe we're not pure three-point shooters. We're good in those momentum shots. Heck, I am in that situation. At least I used to be. I'm getting kind of old now. But I don't know, it turned out to be an easy game. Obviously Dallas is way undermanned. They're just, they are what they are. Dirk had some moments early, but then as the game continued to wear on, he just kind of started clang some threes, and that was about it. I mean, I don't know. Dallas Mavericks shoot too many threes for their own good. They don't look good doing it. I mean, you get 1 of 5 from Barnes, 1 of 5 from Dirk, 0 for 4 from Smith. 1 of 6 from J.J. Barea. That's a shocker. 2 of 9. J.J. Ugh, I can't stand that guy. 21%. I mean, great. That's terrific. And that's why the Dallas Mavericks are bottom feeders at this stage. They might as well call themselves tankers. They're 4-15, and it is what it is. Let's get to the 2 steps backwards. After we took 2 steps forward and then the third step a couple days later, like last night on the 22nd of November, the anniversary of John F. Kennedy. And, of course, the exact same day my dad came to America. Pretty crazy. The exact same day from Lebanon. So Pretty crazy timing there, actually. Yeah. So let's get to the point here. Sunday, the 19th of November, Timberwolves lose by 3 to the Detroit Pistons. The Wolves led the whole game. The whole game. Yeah, the Wolves led the whole game, and the Detroit Pistons pretty much took it to us in that fourth quarter. And, the Wolves still had a sizable lead. The Pistons went on a pretty long run there, like 13-1 run. It was just a joke. And I don't know. Drummond, again, the Wolves down low, couldn't do much about him. Obviously, Dwight Howard. Karl Anthony Towns caught sleeping defensively time and again in this one, down low, and it was really frustrating. He's not the worst of the problems, that's for sure. Just in general, I mean, Jeff Teague, he got the assist, but he was sloppy and he was missing shots. Just not a good game by Jeff Teague, unfortunately, against Chauncey Billups' former club. Jimmy Butler was awesome in the game. The guy draws the big fouls, and of course he had the big. He drew 3 free throws when the Wolves needed to tie the game up, and that was great. He was distracted on the third attempt, or right before the third attempt, and he gave Reggie Jackson a nice look there. Reggie Jackson was driving us crazy all night, and he gave Jimmy Butler gave him a look like he wanted to kill him. Looked like Michael Corleone looked at his victims, and of course Michael Corleone didn't tell anyone what he was thinking. He just gave out orders to this person and that person who, carried out the operation. That's about what Jimmy Butler was doing to Reggie Jackson at the moment. Reggie Jackson, though, was the one that killed us. We didn't kill him. And this game was, it was fun. The Wolves were playing so well. And then down things went. It was a nice, fun game after an extremely exciting Vikings victory. Do check out Purple Mafia. The Vikings beat the Rams. We're sitting chilling after that. Just, feeling so good. And then you get A.V. Bradley nailing a 3 down the stretch. Reggie Jackson setting up play after play and hitting floaters. The guy didn't even play 30 minutes in the game, but it was the fourth quarter where he killed us. Tobias Harris. I keep calling him Tobias, but it's Tobias. Yeah, I know. That's my fault. That's my bad. And, yeah, I know I've been made fun of probably behind my back by somebody. Ish Smith still, again, I mean, boy. He is a valuable little guy, isn't he? He's a really valuable point guard for the Pistons off the bench. I mean, 9 points, 5 assists, and he was solid the whole game. And he made a 3 down the stretch. Just a tough, solid player. Kept the Pistons in the game. And then Reggie Jackson is much maligned in the league. A lot of people don't like him. In fact, they were offering Reggie Jackson to the Wolves in a Ricky Rubio trade last year, and we turned the Pistons down. That's how people feel about Reggie Jackson. But I guess that's kind of one of the motivations for Reggie killing us on Sunday night, and that was quite unfortunate indeed. Reggie killed us down the stretch. I mean, he didn't have good numbers until that fourth quarter, and boy, he took off there, 7 of 11. Yes, 7 of 11 overall from the floor. Those damn floaters and those outside shots, and well, not outside. He was attacking the basket most of the way, including some wacky, weird ones that would go in, and it just drove you crazy, and there was nothing we could do. It was all during that frickin' run. Wolves ended up losing. Wiggins wound up with 24 points, but not a whole lot else. Though he did block 3 shots. I'll give him credit. He was actually good there. Weak side defense again. Weak side. And a couple of steals from Andrew Wiggins. Jimmy Butler added 5 steals as well, but he was sloppy with the ball. Him and Jeff Teague combined for 10 turnovers in the game. Just 2 guys there. So I don't know. That was during that stretch when the Pistons were making that comeback. The Wolves could not get anything done. Taj Gibson fouling out didn't help either. Big frustration, and being in foul trouble later in the game also did not help. And Gibson unable to get the double-double. Butler, sexy statistics, but of course could not finish at the end. And I don't know, it's kind of on everybody. Outstanding, unfortunate performance at the end of the day in that fourth quarter. Much to our chagrin. Do we have to even get into the frickin' Charlotte game? I mean, that was some bogus crap. The Wolves played well for a while, and then Charlotte just kind of did what they did after that. They just kind of had their way. Dwight Howard would manhandle Karl Anthony Towns most of the night. I mean, it wasn't pure dominance, but then again, at least in terms of Mr. Dwight Howard's performance, he had a 20-20 game. I mean, 25-20. You thought he was with the Orlando Magic before things started to go sour years ago, and the Magic were making the NBA Finals in 2009. About that, 2008, 2009, when Dwight Howard was this rising star in the league, and he wasn't much maligned by many, and, kind of like falling fast, you could say, like his days of the LA Lakers, and of course last couple of years with Orlando. He was downright outstanding. Of course, he had games like this in his early days with Houston, so we'll see. Things never last. Only 1 year in Atlanta. Crawford was good Crawford was good off the bench with 19 points, but again, I don't know. He wasn't making the threes when we needed them, and that was where the frustration would set in. I mean, the Wolves ultimately lose the game 118-102. Just a stinker. Kemba Walker, he wasn't spectacular in the game, but he was clutch down the stretch. Again, numbers not that good. Only 14 points, 4 of 12. But he was setting people up at the end and helping Dwight Howard on those alley-oops and stuff like that, driving and dishing. And that's where the frustration, of course, to Frank Kaminsky again, too. Frank Kaminsky, I mean, that was embarrassing defense. Like, it seemed like Towns and Gibson were just watching, mostly Towns. Gibson was good. Towns defensively, just, Gibson's good defensively, but he's not great. He's limited. He's not a super athlete, we'll say, but again, he's very consistent, glue guy type of thing. But, geez, we got killed from that Charlotte bench. I mean, Frank the Tank, as they call him, with 24. Really? And they were all just cutting to the basket. And, of course, he had 5 of 3 from downtown. What am I talking about? 4 of 5 from downtown. He was making everything. He's a lot of what you'd like to see Nemanja turn into, continuously hitting those outside shots. But, of course, attacking the basket as well. Frank just embarrassed us down the stretch. I mean, the defense was a joke. He was just walking into the lane. I mean, it just... And I keep saying but that's about what kind of game it was. Jeremy Lamb also off the bench, 16. Cody bleeping Zeller with 10. That's embarrassing. I mean, that's 50 points with 3 guys off the bench. I mean, 50 points, 3 guys off the bench. Really, man? 50 freaking points. That's horrible, man. And then you get Dwight Howard, 25-5, like I said. And he did add 4 blocks in the game. Oh, rubbish. Your leading scorer, of course, was Jamal Crawford in the game for the Wolves. Jeff Teague was solid, but he wasn't, the passing lanes were getting taken away by this solid defense. Kemba Walker put the clamps down on Jeff Teague a bit. He still managed to get 18 points, but yeah, again, you didn't see much of a flow in the offense. I mean, it's going to be hard to pick it's going to be hard to pick an alpha wolf for this show because you want to pick Butler, you want to pick Towns, you want to go with this, and Wiggins, this wasn't his best game at all. I mean, only 11 points. I mean, Taj Gibson sometimes was good defensively, but overall he had a stinker. You think Gibson could have a alpha wolf again back-to-back weeks, and this was a stinker of a game. I mean, he was awesome against Orlando last night, but the Hornets game, I mean, this is like, no, you're not getting any alpha wolf. This is Johnny Flynn Memorial like. Oh my goodness, I can't handle it. I don't really want to say much more about this game. It was that awful. I mean, Dwight Howard just dominated Karl Anthony Towns, and Towns still put in an okay performance, 18-9 type of thing. He's still going to get the numbers and all that, but just, the morale of the game, the defense, and the way Dwight Howard just kind of manhandled him. And the veteran guy, and he's bigger right now. He's bigger, more muscular than Karl. Karl's got some more filling out to do, this and that. More experience for Dwight Howard. Yeah, but Dwight Howard is, he's past his prime. He's been banged up forever. For like 10 years, it seems like. I don't know. It seems like whenever Towns runs into a more veteran guy, they always seem to get the best of him, at least of late. And I'm not ripping Towns at all, but it's just, I know it's the whole learning curve, growing pains, this and that. You could say that forever, but it seems to happen a lot. Every time he goes up against a veteran, like that, very rarely does he win the matchup. He did against LaMarcus Aldridge. So give him credit when he was up against LaMarcus Aldridge. It was mostly Gibson, but still, he did have a great game there. It was a nice birthday night and overall spectacular performance. And of course, last night he was putting in a lot of baskets, putbacks, and the recipient of some nice alley-oops. We appreciate what Karl brought last night. Still only 18, but only 11 shots attempted. So again, he didn't exactly get the ball a whole lot or put the ball up enough to get spectacular numbers, but a lot of other players really, really stepped up in this game. 24 for Gibson, 9 rebounds, 20 for Wiggins, and this time you're seeing more out of Wiggins. You get the 6 rebounds, the 2 assists, a block, a steal along the way. Of course, Butler, 26 points again. Teague, 22 points, 11 assists. Teague was just sharp and solid. Made it look easy. I mean, when Teague plays well, he is a joy to watch. I mean, he might be the closest thing to Alva Wolf because he was at least, decent most of the games. He didn't have like too many stinkers. And when he had a low scoring game, when he wasn't shooting well, he'd still wind up with 9 assists. And the nights when he didn't get assists, he wound up with points. But generally speaking, Teague is getting a lot more assists than he pretty much has in his Atlanta and Indiana days. And it's been a joy to watch. He's got some Chauncey in him. I think that's who he's reminding me of because I know he reminds me of somebody, and it took a while. But you're seeing Chauncey Billups out of Jeff Teague. A fun night. It was kind of annoying how the Wolves let Orlando back in the game in a huge way in that fourth quarter. That was annoying. Orlando outscored the Wolves by 20 points in that fourth quarter, but still come up short because they were down by so much. The Wolves just were dominant the first 3 quarters offensively. I mean, just insane. 65 points in the first half, 41 in the third quarter. So kind of is what it is there. I mean, the Wolves had already eclipsed the 100-point mark by the end of the third quarter. The offense for the Timberwolves is ever capable of outscoring just about anybody except maybe the Warriors and Rockets right now. I mean, they're that good offensively. But the defense is lacking. And that's why the Wolves are 11-7, not, like we'll say 15-3 or something like that, because the Wolves could have a spectacular record if their defense was real good. And it really wasn't. Games like Charlotte and really this night against Orlando was not good. Orlando was playing well, and Detroit, fittingly, too. They've lost 3 out of their last 4. Orlando's been losing like crazy, so they're definitely not the same team. They're kind of like the Toronto Blue Jays of the NBA. Orlando, they always start good, like at the beginning. Maybe you could say Detroit is too right now. They start with this gaudy record, and then by 2/3 into the season, you're like, wait a minute, weren't they kind of good like a little while ago? Wow, they're terrible now. Like they're way, way down, that type of thing. And that's pretty much what Orlando is for me. Toronto Blue Jays of the NBA. And Elfrid Payton. What the hell is that? You look like a frickin' banana. What the? These hairdos are getting out of hand. Oh boy, don't judge this, don't judge. Yeah, but, it looks really dumb. Go ahead. Oh, you're expressing yourself. You want to look like a banana? That's what you want to express yourself? He wants to look like a banana. I guess. And it's not a shot at anything, so please don't take offense to it. Please, if you're taking offense to this, you need to lighten up, okay? Please. It looks like a banana. You tell me that doesn't look like a freaking banana. What does it look like? It looks like he's expressing himself. How? How does having hair stick forward diagonally or whatever it is express yourself? I mean, eventually, I don't know if that's expressing yourself. It's just look at me, look at me. Isn't that more what it is? Is that expressing yourself? Or okay, I made my point. I'm glad the Wolves won the game. Karl Anthony Towns made Aaron Gordon look really silly on a spin move, and that's where I like Towns, when he's down low making moves. Yeah, God, it's fun to watch. And yeah, he hit a nice 3, put the Wolves ahead in the second quarter. Nice momentum shot. See, that was a momentum shot because it was kind of a catch and shoot on kind of a semi-run and gun type of play. It was kind of sort of a fast break. Obviously, there wasn't a whole lot in front of Karl, so he was able to just catch and shoot. I have no problem with that as long as it's not the whole bleeping game. And that's a momentum shot. That's what a momentum shot is. And the Wolves were doing well at the time and put the Wolves further ahead, and it felt good. It did. That's good. I have no problem with that. I mean, I remember when Garnett would hit those sometimes in those fourth quarters. He'd hit those big threes that would really help. Like the game against Seattle, Marbridge's last game in Minnesota. Games like that. I still remember that because I was at the game back then. I used to go to every game back in the day. Huge shame the Wolves, we didn't get to see Jonathan Isaac. That was our guy. He was in street clothes, or should I say a suit and tie. But yeah, those are good street clothes, we'll say. And of course, Adrian Payne, number 33 of the Orlando Magic, inactive last night. And that's kind of all she wrote there. A couple of guys I'm going to mention that have kind of vanished off the face of the earth. Aaron Afalo. You remember Aaron Afalo? Like, I listened to a Wolves show from about 4 years ago, and just 4 years ago, I was like, Aaron Afalo, oh my God, I would love to have him on the Wolves. And Aaron Afalo has just fallen off the face of the earth, like this defensive shooting guard who can scorch the net. He was just, wow, he was like everybody's dream on the Wolves, starting lineup, a starting shooting guard. And then you get Gorgui Dieng, and boy, there's no way he's happy in his role right now. he doesn't look sharp at all. He's not hitting that mid-range shot that he made all year last year. Just scorched it time and again, and he even made some threes. He was so good. And then now with Gibson starting and kind of taking his role away, and boy, Gibson gets a lot of minutes. Gorgie making $64 million in 5 years, a 5-year contract for $64 million, and they're just, he's just kind of rotting there. 12 minutes last night, just. I'm sad. I'm very sad watching it, actually. I really like Gorgie Zhang. The Wolves bench, it's almost like they weren't even necessary. Jamal Crawford got his 9 points by default. Shabazz Muhammad, he's been kind of relegated here, there, whatever. Cole Aldrich has been completely forgotten. Only 4 games on the season. He's at the bottom of the bench now with Aaron Brooks and Marcus Georges-Hunt. A lot of us like Aaron Brooks, but of course he doesn't bring the high IQ basketball that Tyus Jones can bring. Even though Tyus is very young, he's got very high IQ for his age. Tyus statistically is not exciting at all. I mean, he's averaging about 2.5 points, 2.5 assists. That's like nothing. But he brings intangibles out there. He's solid. He doesn't make big mistakes. Occasionally he'll make some, but everybody's going to make mistakes. I mean, Jeff Teague's going to turn the ball over like crazy sometimes. Last night he didn't. Just a solid son of a gun. Maybe he was just laughing at that guy's hair. The guy was too busy playing with his hair, that Elfrid Payton. Gary, you were one of the toughest, meanest SOBs in the NBA. Tell your son to do something about that. Come on. Tell your son to do something about that, Gary. Come on now. Oh, the glove. The glove needs to come off and take that banana peel head or whatever. Come on, man. Like the top of the banana, the part where you start peeling it. Yeah, that needs to be peeled off a little bit. That looks... I don't get it, man. Is it all just a look at me fest? Point made. Let's go. Alpha Wolf Award for this week's show. I guess it's Jimmy Butler. He had some stinker games, but generally speaking, he was dominant. These were some of the best games of the year for Jimmy. He's had some good games, obviously, during the season. He's Jimmy Butler, for Pete's sake. He's an all-star, and he's an all-around player. But I'm going to give the Alpha Wolf to Jimmy, despite a couple of stinker performances. Carl's been consistent. At least he's getting, 18 points type games. He's getting 18-point type nights. Wiggins has his in-and-out games, and when Wiggins is good, he's just a joy to watch. But, of course, the ball's being spread around a lot more now. You have a scoring point guard. You have a shooting guard that can average 23 points a game. You have a center in Karl Anthony Towns, who's a future star in the league. You have Andrew, and then you have Andrew Wiggins, too. So, again, the ball is getting spread around a lot. So, guys, points per game are way down from last year. I mean, you're not going to see 25 a game this year from Karl or Andrew, unfortunately. Karl's only at 20.4. So, I mean, that's what happens when you put together a quote-unquote super team. The Wolves aren't a super team necessarily, but they're, in comparison to what we've been, this is absolutely a super team in comparison. It's an overall team that scores like crazy. Even guys off the bench like Crawford and occasionally Nemanja Bjelica, who is, again, scorching the net all over the place. The recipient of some nice layups and dunks from alley-oops. He makes his free throws, 91%, by the way. And, of course, from downtown, 51% from Nemanja Bjelica, who leads the NBA in that category. He does have enough attempts. I wasn't sure if he did, but I guess he does. Teague, again, also very solid from downtown, about 40 points a game. So, okay, let's. This is dragging a little bit, though I'm enjoying talking about it. The Johnny Flynn Memorial, it's Gorgie, and I hate saying it. I love that guy. Oh, Gorgie, I love you from Senegal. But he's not the same guy right now, and I can understand why. It's a morale thing, and it's sad, but it is what it is. I gotta give you that. I gotta give it to Gorgie Zhang this week. All right, let's preview some games, and let's get to that doggone Thanksgiving turkey now.
Alfred, if you don't do something about that hair, you're fired!
And we are back here on Timberwolves Explosion Thanksgiving edition. Happy Thanksgiving to those of you that celebrate it here in the United States. Of course, those of you in Australia, I know you probably, obviously, you don't celebrate it, so because it's an American holiday. So, but So bear with me. I know Vince Germano wants to come over one day and have a Thanksgiving dinner, and that would be the awesomest ever. It's worth it. It's worth it. For those of you that want to come over, it is worth it. This is my favorite holiday of the year. I love Christmas, and I'm not afraid to say Christmas. I say the word, yes. And I'm not too lazy to clump them all in one and just call it the holidays. Let's just call them what they are. The holiday is a holiday of Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's or whatever. So let's get going. Enough of my soapbox or whatever the heck it is. Minnesota Timberwolves will host the Miami Heat. It's always a regional thing, isn't it? Even if you're hosting or traveling, it's regional. A 4-game homestand. This is game number 2, of course. Last night was Orlando, the original, the first of 4. Then you have Phoenix and Washington, at home. And then off to Pelican Land on Wednesday, back-to-back. I don't like back-to-backs right now, the way this team is playing. Not because we stink or we were bad, but we don't seem to play well in those. The Miami Heat, the Wolves had a nice victory over the Miami Heat. Last year, the Heat made mincemeat of us, and it was really annoying. Where this year, we did a pretty good job. Nice little comeback, a crappy start in the game, a nice comeback and victory on the road. Kelly Olynyk was kicking our butts, and that was kind of weird and annoying. You got Wayne Rain Ellington, the former Wolf, the late-round pick. Nice shooting guard, but very one-dimensional. He can shoot a little, obviously, but, again, one-dimensional. Though this year he's averaging 40%. Yuck. Miami is kind of a mess of good and good and questionable and not so good players. It's a mix. It's a weird mix. And the diamond in the rough is Hassan Whiteside, a guy who was pretty much left for dead in the NBA draft years ago, and he's a double-double machine, 15 points, 13 rebounds. He's had better numbers than this, though. But, of course, he was recovering from injury, and he's only played 12 games this year, so not all the way, and he's certainly not in midseason form at this stage. The Miami Heat are 8-9 on the year. They've won 2 out of their last 5. They had a back-to-back with Washington. They won 1 and lost 1. Lost to Detroit a while ago. They beat Boston last night and ended the win streak. So, yeah. Wow. Okay. So you get creamed by Indiana. 3 days ago. These are both in Miami, where the Heat was on in the day. That was a nice song, and it was fun time to watch basketball with Miami not that long ago. They lost by 25 points to the Pacers a couple days ago, yet you beat the Celtics. Okay, good on the Boston Celtics, an awesome win streak, and it's over. Wow, okay, so Goran, these names, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Goran Dragic, the Dragon, the other Dragon, there's Dragon Bender too. Yeah, he's dangerous, he's a good slasher, he gets to the basket, he can hit some threes sometimes. His percentage not the best you ever saw. Deion Waiters is all over the place, and when he's good, he's great. He's kind of like a J.R. Smith in a sense, kind of, sort of. Hassan is what he is. He's a tough matchup for Carl, and last time when the Wolves won, Hassan wasn't playing. That's where the frustration came in. Why are the Wolves losing this game without even Hassan Whiteside in there? He's the one that helped kill us, him and Dragic, the pair of games last year, of course, of the Eastern Conference. The Wolves need to win this game. It's a home game, and the Wolves just play really well at home. We're not perfect at home. We've had a couple of stinkers, but I don't know. You're not going to win every game, though. Out of the home games, most likely one to lose is either Washington or Miami, of course. I'm going to say the Wolves win over the Miami Heat. Carl needs to have that big game, of course, against Hassan Whiteside, though he'll probably end up with something along the likes of what he's been doing lately, like 18-9. Hopefully he can add some block shots. And, hopefully Hassan doesn't go off for 25 and 20 type of thing like frickin' Dwight Howard. If Karl Anthony Towns can frustrate and contain Hassan Whiteside, knock a couple of shots away, and, of course, maybe steal the ball, stuff like that, force him into some mistakes, that would be very helpful. That would give the Wolves a chance to win the game, of course. This is definitely a Jimmy Butler type of game. It's like you want to say Wiggins, but, obviously Carl versus Hassan Whiteside is the key of the game in a sense. If Hassan goes off, I think the Wolves are dead. Jeff Teague and Butler will be so key. Obviously, Teague's going to have to be solid against Goran Dragic. That's a given. And then, of course, you have games like the one Kelly Olynyk had against us last time around. He had 23 points, so that was really frustrating overall night. Nobody really stood out in the last game. Jimmy Butler had 16. I expect more out of Jimmy Butler this coming game against the Heat on Friday, November the 24th. I expect a better performance in that one. Ultimately, I would have to say. The Wolves, I think, should win this game. Pardon me. I don't think there's any doubt. But then again, I shouldn't say that because obviously, Hassan Whiteside wasn't in there last time around. So the hope is that that Carl can contain Hassan Whiteside. But I will pick a Wolves victory, something along the likes of 102 to 95, something like that. I think the leading scorer will be Jimmy Butler, something around 23 points. Nothing spectacular necessarily, but a good game by Jimmy Butler. He'll get some key steals down the stretch. And Carl will get about 18, something like that. Hopefully Taj Gibson can get back into his double-double mode. He's struggled, of course, until last night against Orlando. He had a couple of stinkers back-to-back there. So that kind of is what that is. Minnesota Timberwolves will then host the Phoenix Suns. I expect a rebound game. The Wolves had a horrible game in that one, or a horrible finish in that game. They were doing well. The Wolves were doing well for a while, and then Devin Booker, Marquise Chris, and others just went ape on the Wolves, and it was so frustrating. Butler wound up with 25 points in the game. He led the way in a lot of statistics, but still, things kind of got more and more sour in the game. Butler mostly got to the free throw line. Nothing other than that. I mean, it was more of, Butler got to the free throw line. His field goal percentage was awful most of the way, and the Wolves end up losing the game. That was sickening, to be quite honest. Dropped the Wolves to 7-5 at the time. This is a team the Wolves absolutely can and should be. To me, there's no excuse. It's, a home game, and again, you're going to expect, you've got to come back with a vengeance in this game. I don't care how good a shooter Devin Booker is or what he's capable of. He's averaging 23 points a game. No excuse. I mean, his field goal percentage from beyond the arc isn't that spectacular. He had no business scourging us to the level he did. It was disgusting. Greg Monroe is now a member of the Phoenix Suns since the last time, and he's doing okay in 4 games, averaging about 14 and a half and a little over 8 rebounds. Bledsoe is off to the Milwaukee Bucks. Good for him. Good luck there. Of course, things went very sour after the first 3 games, and off to the Bucks he goes. Greg Monroe to the Suns. God bless there. Marquise Chris, it's like he's just getting started, and the way he manhandled the Wolves last time around, it was disgusting. There's no excuse. Wolves need to step up and win the game. I do predict the Wolves to do that. I expect something along the likes of, I think the Wolves will get the 118 this time. It's going to be 118 to 100. I think the Wolves blow out the Phoenix Suns, and you're going to see Shabazz Muhammad have a good game. He always plays good against the Suns for whatever reason, and I'm going to go with Andrew Wiggins with 30. He's going to have his best game in a while. 30-point performance from Andrew Wiggins. Can't keep going with Jimmy Butler, of course. I expect a huge night from Andrew Wiggins. I think he'll go off. He'll have a lot of dunks, and of course, he'll be scorching from downtown, in my humble opinion. We quickly move on now. Tuesday, the 28th of November, the Minnesota Timberwolves will host the Washington Wizards. Well, they're 10-8. They're winning their division, but it's a very weak division. You got Miami, Orlando, Charlotte, and Atlanta, who's 3-15. Ooh, Atlanta. Oh, that hurts. John Wall is one of the league leaders in assists, 9.2, and Bradley Beal is scorching the net. Wow. I've always liked Marcin Gortat. He's actually always been a freaking problem for the Wolves, too. It's like he's not a great player, but he's good. He's solid. He averages about a double-double. He's kind of like Taj Gibson in a way. Maybe not as quick and athletic as Taj Gibson can be, per se, but he's just a solid overall guy. Markieff Morris, he was killing us last year. Hopefully not the case this time around. Bradley Beal, though, he's becoming one of the best. He's getting really good out there, obviously averaging about 24 a game. But the Wizards still kind of all over the place, kind of inconsistent. They beat Miami, lose to Miami, get beat pretty soundly by Toronto, and they give up 129 points in regulation against the Charlotte Hornets. Yikes. The Hornets are improving a little bit, but they're still slightly below 500, which I think the Hornets should be above 500. I don't know, man. They had a nice record last year, if I remember correctly. Or was it the year before? I don't know what's going on with this whole division, frankly. Either the Wizards should be running away with it, or maybe even the Hornets should be, I think. But I don't know. It's just kind of a weak division right now. Weird situation going on. Probably the Wizards should be winning it. Otto Porter is one of those ever-solid players. He can really hit the three-point shot, and that's a guy the Wolves got to contain if they're going to hope to win the game, because Porter could go off, obviously. He's averaging about 10% better from downtown. Bradley Beal's averaging about 37. Otto Porter almost 48 a game, and just slightly less attempts. So Otto Porter, again, very dangerous from outside. Wolves really got to do the best they can to contain him. You're going to probably, obviously you're going to want Butler on Otto Porter if humanly possible, at least at times, in and out, or on Beal, actually, to be quite honest. I'm a little worried about Wiggins on Porter, but I suppose you'd want Butler on Beal because Beal's the overall leading scorer. If Wiggins can contain Porter on the perimeter, that would be very helpful if the Wolves expect to win the game. So I have the Wolves beating Miami, beating Phoenix. I don't think the Wolves are going to win both of these games. I'll pick the Wolves to, boy. They might lose both of these again. I'm kind of afraid of that happening, actually. The Wolves should beat this Wizard team. They're a little better at this point. I think the Wolves are better than the Wizards. I mean, it's like I'm almost going on last year still, and I got to be careful with that. The Wizards were a lot better than us last year. They really had a strong season, but ultimately couldn't do much in the playoffs, like always, because there's only a couple teams over there that can in the postseason. Is it 2 steps backwards again? Is it going to go that way again? I'm kind of leaning that way. Who do the Wolves first play in? Oh, boy. December the 1st on Friday, Oklahoma City Thunder. Ooh, that's a tough one. Well, the Wolves have beaten them twice this year. Maybe they win again. And Oklahoma City is 8-9 on the season. That's kind of funny. In a way, it's kind of predictable because I thought they might be the flop in the West in terms of expectations, and they're flopping right now. Oh, boy. Oh, this is an ever-losable game. I'm kind of scared. It's going to be very, 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 very close. Like a 2-point type of game. Maybe like free throws at the end, make it a 4 or 5 point type of game. That type of situation. I don't like this matchup. And, of course, I don't like New Orleans either. The Wolves played great against New Orleans last time, but I don't know if that's going to happen again. The Wolves got pretty lucky having Karl reduced to what he was, and still guys like Butler stepping up and doing the great job they did, helping the Wolves beat the New Orleans Pelicans on November the 1st. Yeah, they start November and end November with the Pelicans in Nolens. Interesting. See, now I'm going back and forth with both these games. The Timberwolves will... I'm so paranoid right now. Yeah. Well, it's like they're either going to lose to Miami or Washington, I think. I kind of think that. But maybe we can have a little 3-game win streak and then it ends in New Orleans. Something like that. So... 4-game win streak it would be. Pardon me, because they beat Orlando. Well, I've never liked this matchup. I think the Wizards outlast the Wolves 102-98. Very close game. Bradley Beal obviously will, I think he'll have a good game, but I can just see something out of Otto Porter. I got a sneaky feeling he's going to go off. He's averaging about 15.5 a game. I could see Porter going off for like 24, 20, 26, something like that, scorching us from beyond the arc. That's what I'm afraid of happening. And I think the Wizards outlast the Wolves 102-98. Otto Porter will be the problem, I think, from downtown, because the Wolves' 3-point defense, perimeter defense, that is still... leaves something to be desired in a big way. So that's where I'm going at this stage. New Orleans Pelicans, well, can the Wolves do it again? The Wolves won 104-98 last time around. Can they do it again? This was kind of like a semi sort of coming out game. DeMarcus Cousins at 35, just crushed the Wolves. We all know these guys. Of course, Drew Holiday, obviously DeMarcus Cousins. And then, of course, Anthony Davis is even better, I would say. DeMarcus is more offensive, and Anthony Davis is a defensive star. Both of them just scorching the net, averaging over, about 52 points a game combined. Just unbelievable, these two guys. And even Drew Holiday's factoring in the third wheel, so to speak, offensively. He's doing a good job in that sense. He's managing about 6 assists, and then you even throw in, Jordan Crawford. He's kind of been in and out. Rajon Rondo is still on that club, barely getting any playing time, though. A couple of Sacramento Kings from last year on their way to Pelican land in the offseason. This team is kind of weird, the Pelicans. They're all over the place. They crushed San Antonio. They get absolutely obliterated by Denver, 146-114. What the hell is that? They barely beat Atlanta. Again, you crush. You have a convincing win over Oklahoma and crush San Antonio. They're a weird team, and that's one of the reasons they might lose the game, because they had their weird team moment against us last time. The Wolves managed to survive. I'm gonna pick back-to-back losses. I mean, that's kind of what this team does. The Pelicans are going to win the game. It's going to be something like I just, that down low battle has not been good for Carl. And until he proves otherwise, and especially against these two guys, these guys are deadly. They've manhandled us forever with Carl or whoever was down there, Kevin Love or whoever. They've manhandled the Wolves forever. Sacramento used to frustrate us, obviously, with DeMarcus. You have both of these guys that are bad matchups for the Wolves. I was very impressed with the win at the beginning of the month, but I got a bad feeling here. Something along the likes of 108-100. The Pelicans will win the game. I hope so that Butler can have a repeat type of performance, but somebody else like a Jeff Teague needs to step up in a big way. And, of course, Taj Gibson. Carl, obviously, I think he can do better than last time. I think there's no doubt about that. How could he not do better? He had 2 points. He was just frustrated the whole game. Somebody like Gorgie Zhang, who played well last time around, was key. And, of course, Nemanja Bjelica, so you're going to need help from the bench. Somebody like Gorgie, Nemanja, Shabazz. Somebody like that needs to step up and have like an 18, 20-point type of night. Obviously, Jamal Crawford's capable of doing that. That's why I'm not saying his name. It's going to have to be somebody like, I think Gorgie's going to have to really, it's going to have to be one of those games where Gorgie becomes more of an Alpha Wolf candidate versus a Johnny Flynn candidate. Something like that. It's going to be a huge key for the Wolves' success to hopefully somehow, some way get these guys in foul trouble. Like Taj Gibson needs to be physical with DeMarcus, or in this case, I believe it would be Anthony Davis, trying to get him in foul trouble. Carl, you're going to have one of those type of games where the big men are going to have to really step up and frustrate these players so they don't have their big performances. Because if they do, I think this time around the Pelicans will be more successful and beat the Wolves 108-100 on the road. So that'll wrap up the preview segment. We'll take a quick break, come back, and we will get into fan interaction. And we are back here on Timberwolves Explosion, fan interaction segment to wrap things up and get to that Thanksgiving turkey, I suppose, because it is Thanksgiving here in the United States right now. Yes, sir. So let's get to things right away. At Wolves Explosion is the Twitter account. The information, everything you hear will be in the show description, including the email address and the Facebook page. But first and foremost, the Twitter account, pretty quiet this week, I believe, unless I'm not looking at it right. There were some, yes, thank you very much for the retweets. Yep, I was looking at something wrong, but yep, no interactions, unfortunately. Very quiet in that sense, but I really appreciate the retweets and the likes from the Courtside Podcast. Levi Brown, Tanae Brown, and Vince Germano. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much for what you do, retweeting this show, and spread the word about Timberwolves Explosion. Thank you guys so very much. That is worth its weight in gold, as a guy by the name of Adam Ryan would say. In all fairness, that show's gotten real quiet too of late, and it's a bummer. They don't record as often as lately, but I don't know. It's like with all of us, busy schedules get in the way, and that's just a part of life, unfortunately. So, leaving off from the last show on the Facebook page, going to give a quick shout out first to Flips Army, the Flips Army page on Facebook. Look it up, give that a like and follow. Interact in the in-game discussion, post-game, this and that, oncoming news and such. If anything is posted about anything about Steph Curry or the Warriors, just ignore it or berate the person. Say Wolves content only. That's what I encourage you to do. But I think things have cooled down in that stretch. That was going on that whole bleeping year when that one team had their big game. So this information was given to me by Sebastian Barton. He sent it on Messenger, and I said, hey, do me a favor, post that on the Timberwolves Explosion page. And he said, why don't you do it yourself? And I said, okay, sure. And then I did. Thank you, Sebastian. I was saying insane facts. I thought you guys might be interested in thoughts, and it did generate some discussion. But first, I'll read to you what was going on. This is from On the Prowl, at On the Prowl _ MN, that's what they call it, _ The last time the Timberwolves were 5 games over 500, that's, of course, The iPod Nano was released. YouTube was founded. Chris Paul won Rookie of the Year. Bartolo Colon, the 44-year-old who played with the Twins this year, won the AL Cy Young. And Kat was 10 years old. That is some blankety blank. And that was 2005. And I was already 26. Can you believe that? Yes, 2005. I was starting to trade stocks on E-Trade. Of course, I'd already started to get into the stock market a little bit before that, but I was opening up my E-Trade account, getting excited, investing in stuff like Northwest Airlines and Delta. That didn't do as good as it could have, but yeah, it just is what it is. But then I had some fun with penny stocks, this and that, and that was a fun year. Games and flicks, oh, so exciting and so heartbreaking, all the more. Okay, let's get to what you had to say out there. Appreciate those of you that did interact here, and Sebastian and Vince Germano doing the look, and then Nate Lindholm and Levi Brown liking it. Yeah, thank you guys. Philip Brown wanted to bring over Derek Bickley. Tanae Brown out of New Zealand says, it's so sad that it's been that long, but at least we're on the rise now, and that's for damn sure. I was saying, yep, it's crazy. You go from the iPod Nano to the Note 8 or the iPhone X. It's pretty insane. I was also saying I was 26, so yeah, I was already, I was under 30 at least. I was under 30. And Tanae is saying, I think that was the year I played my first game of basketball. Ha ha. Oh, wow, that's cool. I played my first game in 91. And again, late bloomer, folks, late bloomer. I was already, 12 years old at that stage in 91. 91, not 2001. Not 2011. 91, folks. So, yeah, I miss those days, kind of, sort of. Yeah, I kind of do. So I put up that I got the studio. This is what this is. You could call it a studio. It's about, yeah, well, it's where I record the podcast. I got a cute little Christmas tree. Looking at it right now, it is lit up, and it will always be lit up when I'm recording a show. Cute, tiny little Christmas tree, and it's almost like all you need, isn't it? Though I will put up a tree here in the apartment very soon, here in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. But it's all lit up. Looks so pure, pretty little thing. It's about 6 inches tall, maybe. Yeah, 5-6 inches tall. Got the iPad for the info, the laptop for the recording and other info, and of course the microphone and the cute little light. Obviously, because I'm a detective. I'm Detective Joe Kenda. Well, my, you've got some explaining to do, Jack. Okay, sorry. Well, my. Yep. So, yes, I had to put this up. I enjoy it very much, and it is what it is. I made sure I posted the same picture on the other Facebook shows to get interaction about it, because this studio includes Timberwolves Explosion, Brave the Wild, and Purple Mafia. Yes, sir. Vince Germano says it looks good. Thank you guys also that liked the picture. Really appreciate it. God bless you. So, we'll move on from there. And rock and roll, I believe, there has to be visitors posts. I know there was at least a couple from Hank McCoy of the Courtside Podcast. And did we record? Where's the last time we recorded? It was the 17th. So, one and an interaction from Hank McCoy. Thank you very much. Hank McCoy / Wayne Hunt, or Wayno as he calls himself. Do you think we are demanding too much with Towns and forget that he's still such a young player? That being said, I get a little sick of watching Drummond slip back door on Towns. You're a shot on Towns for a shot around the rim. Give me a spell. Yep, see, that's what I'm saying, too. Guys are literally slipping right around Karl Anthony Towns. And before I continue, I'll comment a bit on what he said there, too. Yeah, I think I got to catch myself a bit, too, sometimes. Like, I'm expecting a lot, and then you see, like, Dwight Howard and DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis do what they do. Yep. He is a young player. He's behind the curve with those guys. Those guys are way ahead, this and that. As much as Dwight drives you crazy, you think he's past his prime and he's just sorry and this and that. But he's still, he's got a lot of experience. Like him or not, he's got a lot of experience. And, of course, the Boogie, same thing. Kind of a malcontent and a dingle hopper of a player, but he's still a great player. And obviously, Anthony Davis, I've got nothing bad to say about him at all, other than the brow's kind of goofy looking, but hell with it. It's cool. You know what? That's who he is. We all have an identity. It's a lot better than Alfred Payton's banana head. You freaking banana. Okay. Continue. But yeah, the defense. The frickin' defense. He's a frickin' turnstile sometimes, and then he comes over and blocks shots from the weak side, but strong side, he just doesn't have strong side defense right now, just Karl Anthony Towns. And come on, bring it back. And keep the weak side defense coming, though. Weak side defense is wonderful. It's where you get your 4 blocks type of games on occasion. Drummond is both. Strong side, weak side defender. He's just stud at it. He says, as good as Cat is offensively and athletically, he will only really dominate in the league once he learns to stop guys. See? Yeah. That's 100% correct, and that's why Anthony Davis is one of the best players in the league, because He's an awesome defender, and he can score 25 points a game. Yep, absolutely. That's why David Robinson was a great player, because he was a stud defensively. He wasn't good. He was awesome. And then he averaged 26 points in his prime years, which we hope Cat can still do. One more thought from Wayno. He says, now more than ever, I think the Wolves need a strong, weak side defender. Yep, see? Strong weak side defender if they want to get anywhere come playoff time. Thoughts? And yeah, I think the Wolves will be looking for something. And that's probably one of the reasons why Taj is playing so well, because he wants to still be that guy. But yeah, I mean, you need more. As good as Taj Gibson is, you need more. And I was saying I couldn't agree more. The defense has got to improve. You know, we're not going to get anywhere the way things are going. I was saying how Towns shows signs of being a good weak side defender, and then of course disappears just as quickly. I do hope the Wolves do get a trade come the trade deadline, and I think something will happen. Not sure. You might see Gorgie move. I don't know, but it depends on if they're willing to take on that $64 million contract. It's not the most expensive contract in the league in this day and age. Years ago, it would have been like, holy moly, man, that much? Because that's more than Terrell Brennan's contract. But yeah, different day and age, all that nonsense. Great thoughts by Wayne Hunt. Please keep these coming. I appreciate it. Even if it's just one per show, it's wonderful. It's worth its weight in gold. If it's 5, 6, 7, 8, that's even better. I love what you bring to the show, Wayne Hunt. You're awesome. So please never stop. Big shout out, major shout out as we get to the end of the show here to the Courtside Podcast. Now, to get here first, I better say facebook.com/Timberwolves Explosion, because this time Timberwolves Explosion does fit. Also, again, a big shout out to the Courtside Podcast. They're a free podcast on iTunes like they always are. And then there's the 1-year subscription where it's $20 a year on Podbean, where you can also get the premium shows. Now, the free shows will be on Podbean, and every free show will be on iTunes. But if you want to get every single thing, the premium shows like Christmas specials, stuff like that, it's $20 a year, like season previews, stuff like that, playoff stuff, like, all kinds of special productions that Hank is more than capable of doing. Hank or Wayne, you could say. He's got two names in a sense. $20 a year premium on Podbean. That's the name of the application you can use on your Apple or Android devices out there, whatever that device is. And yep, you can download it just like iTunes, as long as you're on Wi-Fi or whatever the heck you use. So even if you're on the International Space Station, all of this is still available that way. You can still call the podcast too, our Timberwolves Explosion, 209-736-7877, 209-736-7877. It is a voicemail. Do treat it as such. Mention you're calling in to Timberwolves Explosion. Do your statement, shout out, comment, question, opine, all that good stuff. The phone line is a voicemail, like I said. There's a 3-minute limit to that one. There's also the call now button on the Facebook page, which goes through the same number through Facebook Messenger. So again, even if you're on the International Space Station out there in the sky, as long as there's Wi-Fi, you could still call into Timberwolves Explosion. So just in case somebody up there has been listening to Timberwolves Explosion, you're more than welcome to call in and tell me you're on the International Space Station. As long as there's Wi-Fi up there, you'll get through. Same thing with the audio submission route, which Tanae Brown has done in the past. Tanae's takes, boy, I want him back. I miss you, Tanae. I love those calls. You got a voice for radio, brother. I mean, that guy is good. Hank, or Wayne Hunt, or Vince Germano, Stu Benson, you're more than welcome to call in as well. Hank McCoy, Vince Germano, Stu Benson, all do the Courtside Podcast. You're all welcome to do the same thing. Audio submission, call in, whatever it is. You email that the call, or you treat it like a phone call. Your free voice recorder on any of your smart devices, whatever it is. You email it to paladinolive@yahoo.com. paladinolive@yahoo.com. That's all it is. The email address and the Facebook page, Twitter account, and phone line, all in the show description. You can use copy and paste if you like with the email address, and boom. And it's that simple. So thanks again. Please do tell your friends about the show if you could. Also give a positive rating on iTunes or Stitcher if you haven't yet. It's greatly appreciated. And I will give you a huge shout out and thank you on the show when I indeed do see it. So thanks again. God bless. Happy Thanksgiving to those of you here in the United States. And those of you in Australia, come visit sometime and we'll celebrate Thanksgiving together in style. That would be very, very much something to look forward to. Take care. God bless. Go Timberwolves. Let's have a winning week.